wasn't like the polls had it, +5, +6, and wow, it could go either way. They added +20, +22. What are we doing here?
Good morning, I'm Anna Palmer.
And I'm Jake Sherman.
And welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It's Wednesday, August 12th, 2026. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, making sense of last night's primary results. Number two, what's Deluzio is up to in Pennsylvania. And number three, Bacon is asserting himself when it comes to reconciliation. All right, Jake, let's get to it. It was another busy voting day across the country with key races in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Connecticut, your home state. Interesting mixed bag results, right? There were some wins for progressives, but also some places where the establishment candidates won.
Yes. Well, let's talk first. Let's start by not talking about Congress for a second, Anna, and talk about Wisconsin, which came in overnight. David Crowley won the gubernatorial primary, Democratic gubernatorial primary in Wisconsin, where he beat Franziska Hong. Anna, I want to just I know you don't like when I look at my other screen here, but I'm going to do it for a second. I'm going to do it for a second.
It's one thing when it has a purpose. It's another thing when I'm talking and you're just, over there typing.
Let's just talk about something for a minute, okay? Last 5 Wisconsin governor Democratic primary polls. Hong +22, Hong +18, Hong +25, Hong +29, Hong +20. And guess who won this race, Anna? Not Hong. Not Hong. David Crowley won this race. Not Joe Crowley, which is what I almost said. David Crowley won this race by 0.41%, a mere 3,211 votes. Anna, let's just say another polling miss in the state of Wisconsin. This wasn't like the polls had it, +5, +6, and wow, it could go either way. They added +20. +22. What are we doing here? Like, I don't understand this. And people are going to just say, well, it's another miss. We'll get some right. We'll get some wrong. Well, I don't know. That ain't the game. I hate to tell you, that ain't the game. So that is a big victory for the moderate wing of not moderate wing, but it's a loss for the Democratic, the left part, the very progressive wing of the party. And, that's a big thing to think about. Let's talk about things a little bit closer. Do you have any thoughts on the polling industry, Bubba? Are we getting into polling? Could this be a business that we disrupt?
Oh, I will say this. This is why we do the polling we do, which is verified folks who are in positions that matter, that know what is happening on issues that we care about. Clearly, the general polling industry is having some really hard time this cycle. I think it might be better just going to a cafe in Wisconsin.
Yeah, just go somewhere and be like, raise your hand if you like this guy. Okay, raise your hand if you like that guy. Anyhow, Minnesota and the state of your birth, Peggy Flanagan, beat Angie Craig in a significant win for the left. Craig is a House Democrat, so that is, and obviously this is a Senate race. So this is obviously a very big thing for us. That Peggy Flanagan will be heavily favored against Michelle Tafoya, the former sports broadcaster in Minnesota and in Connecticut, my home state, although not my part of the state, in the Hartford area. John Larson, who has been in office since 1999, 78 years old, lost his primary to Luke Bronin, the former mayor of Hartford, in really a resounding fashion by 20-something points. And I want to just say a few things here. I was looking at the map last night. It was 54-32, which is just a massive victory for Bronin. He won every city in the district besides 2. Heartland, where there were 100 votes, and I'm not kidding, 57 for John Larson, not 57%, 57 votes for John Larson, 43 for Bronin, 9 for Jillian Gilchrist, who got 8% of the vote, and East Hartford, which is John Larson's home territory, where Larson won 48-43. Bronin just swept across the district. And this is a district that is a solid Democratic district. There will be no challenge to Luke Bronin in this district, no challenge of note. Larson was a member of the House Democratic leadership and is the 7th He was a member, by the way, not recently, but from 2009 to 2013. He's the seventh Democratic incumbent, House Democratic incumbent, to lose a primary this cycle. There will be an open seat on Ways and Means where John Larson chaired the Social Security Subcommittee. Anna, what do you say?
I mean, this was a race that people were watching for a while, and it's not a surprise that Larson was vulnerable, right? I mean, this was something that a lot of people have been watching for quite a while. Clearly, an anti-incumbent, anti-Washington establishment vote that is coming out in these primaries that we're seeing on the Democratic side. The other big race to watch here was South Carolina and Senator Darlene Graham, who replaced her late brother, and Representative Ralph Norman. They are going to be both advancing to an August 25th primary runoff to replace Lindsey Graham. Trump obviously threw his support behind Graham, but she failed to clear that 50%. She finished with 33%, followed by Norman with 25%. Only a couple of weeks here, Jake. So I think, well, you talked about this yesterday, but just going to be a tough race to the end. The President Trump did say that he's going to go and campaign for Darlene Graham. So we'll have to see how much that matters in the state, but hard to get people to turn out again 2 weeks later. I mean, those are really going to be your real party faithful. Going to have to be interesting to see if Norman, Freedom Caucus stalwart, who did endorse against President Donald Trump in the 2024 presidential primary, supporting Nikki Haley, whether or not that's going to matter.
I would emphasize and underline what you just said, which is that the people who come out for another race in 13 days are going to most likely be the party faithful. And that. I don't know what's going to happen. I have literally no idea, but that should benefit Ralph Norman, who, by the way, has spent the last, 6 to 8 months running for governor. He lost that race and has name ID. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be very interesting to watch. Ralph Norman is not going to be in Congress. If he doesn't win this Senate race, he's not going to be in Congress next term because he ran for governor and did not run in his primary. So again, just a couple weeks away. So we'll have to see how that shakes out.
All right, Jake, let's go on to the number 2 story of the morning. With 2028 looming, Representative Chris Deluzio, the Democrat from Pennsylvania, has crisscrossed Pennsylvania this cycle, stumping for Democrats in a state he believes will decide the House majority. A great item here by our very own Max Cohn. I was talking to him about this earlier this week. A very interesting look at how Deluzio going across the state to campaign as everybody is looking at the potential, or a lot of people believe he is looking at a potential Senate statewide run to potentially take on John Fetterman.
Safe to say that John Fetterman probably won't be the Democratic nominee in in a couple of years in 2028. That's my guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should check some polling on that one. Chris Deluzio joins. First of all, you said it. He's campaigning across the state, knocking John Fetterman. He says John Fetterman is not really wanted anywhere in the state to campaign with Democrats. He is going to join a crowded field of people who are interested, including Brendan Boyle, who's the ranking member on the House Budget Committee, Summer Lee, and potentially Connor Lamb, who lost to Fetterman in a primary just a couple of years, or a few years ago. Deluzio is campaigning across Pennsylvania for people like Bob Brooks, Bob Harvey, Paige Cognetti, and Janelle Stelson, who Democrats see huge opportunity in the Keystone State. Mike Johnson, also House Republicans, trying to protect their turf. They have a lot of vulnerable members there. Pennsylvania, I think we're going to actually have someone in Pennsylvania in the next couple of weeks here doing some stories on the climate out there. So it's going to be a very competitive state. And Deluzio, this is what midterms are, where people who want to run statewide races make their bones, Anna, either for House leadership or for statewide races,
where they get a lot of chits for going around raising money and campaigning for their potential colleagues. All right, let's move on to the number 3 story of the morning in defense world. Representative Don Bacon, he's retiring, but Jake, he's not going quietly. He is threatening to hold up tens of billions of dollars in military funding until the Pentagon outlines its plans for sending a U.S. Army brigade to Poland. He is one of the stalwarts here in the Congress right now, who's trying to force the Trump administration to move back and to undo its cancellation of deployment in Poland and in Europe. And this could be a big problem for the Trump administration, when Bacon's saying in an interview he's not going to support a final reconciliation bill until this happens.
That's right. And to the extent you believe a final reconciliation bill is even possible, the Senate's not passed a budget resolution yet. They might do so in September. They might not. They might do it in the lame duck. But Don Bacon this is a problem. Don Bacon is not running for re-election. Don Bacon doesn't need the House Republican leadership for anything, unless he wants to become a lobbyist, in which case he might need them for something. But this is every single way. There's a lot of ways to turn the screws on House Republican leaders and on the Trump administration. And Bacon, who is a hawk, he's a defense hawk, he's a veteran. He is somebody who has a tremendous amount of sway and a very loud voice when it comes to these matters of troops and things like that. And I would just say this is important to keep an eye on because reconciliation is coming down the pike.
We will leave it there. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. If you like the Daily Punch, share it on social media. Tell your friends. It's the best way to find out about us. And of course, you can go deeper on all things Punchbowl News at punchbowl.news. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.